In another 90 days, it'll be past 111.
That's what we used to do at Walsh, the like online course thing, which was a different login than your like financial account. So it was literally just to log into your classes, changed every 60 days, and we all just started adding numbers to the end.
Well, so that's what I did. I started adding it to the end, and one of my phone calls with tech support, and they said you can't do that because it doesn't change enough. It changes the numeral, and she suggested that what you got to do is you got to break the word apart and put the numbers in the middle. Oh, I just don't like this. There you go. That's the hand that changes the word. You see that in mind?
Okay, but then you're going to change it again in another 90 days.
About 30%.
So am I going to break it apart again?
The worst one was, this was, this is back when it takes. Look at that. 8 years, maybe 7 years.
I lived to be in my mid-70s.
We used to allow people to come back as a week to accrue vacation time towards the end of the year. And I had a lot of vacation time, then we had a week shut down, so I was taking like 2.5 weeks off from work. Well, apparently, in the beginning of that 2.5 weeks, my password
3.5–4%.
so
Better than losing.
and then by the time
You
I
know,
was
the last
back,
month was,
it locked
we
me out
gained
of
probably
everything.
10% back last
And
month.
that was a treat.
You know, I saw that.
Fun time
It
politics.
still was down for a year.
When my son was born,
And it could get worse.
I didn't realize that when you're on I was on paternity leave, I was a week off.
Business good for you?
Work.
Or people ask
It actually logged you out of everything.
In
And so I
times
called,
like
yeah,
this,
so like you can't access
I'll have the
email,
best year
you
I'll
can't
ever
access
have
our,
next year.
I mean, it's almost like
Because of the
you're talking about like
volatility.
Salesforce, it's kind of like that, it's like a
So,
system
it
that
just-
allows
that just-
sample and things like that. And,
It's unfortunate, but anytime
Very,
there's a lot of turnover and stuff,
Yeah.
I do really well, both in taxes and
Yeah.
financial planning.
and,
So,
I came,
That's good.
and I told my boss knew about it, but I didn't know that you had.
I actively manage that, I don't just say throw it in index and what you take it.
Right.
That's
Something I do appreciate about
right now, energy and financials.
breakdown in communication.
They're
Yeah.
good job.
No communication.
Yeah.
They're starting to
Because
come
Katie
back.
has that idea.
Yeah, but they've been out
Oh.
of favor for so long.
So long.
Split her,
That they didn't have the
apartment
cash flow to buy the new bonds to really recover from it, so it's kind of
okay, you need to go to
a
HR.
transition period still.
Like HR, and then HR was like, we need to
When
tell
rates are
this
this
other HR person who handles.
Next year, bond,
Quitting
handling.
very much.
I was able to.
None of you can just like
Yeah,
forward an email to somebody else.
I know,
That's,
it doesn't make any
I
sense.
mean, almost unbeatable.
It's weird how.
Right. They guarantee it now,
Big organizations
5% or
operate, you know?
something, just
Yeah.
got some email. A lot of people hopped on that.
Right, oh yeah.
I would
You
expect
know,
similar
But I think, what is it?
eccentricities would
Is it 20,000 the max
literally.
It's
per
like
year?
19 or something like that.
Something
Yeah.
combined, yeah.
So I mean, it's.
Those are not bad.
No, it's,
Organization.
heck no, you can't beat that right now.
No.
I mean, at least you know that part's gonna be,
You know,
So I was able
Not
to
about-
get, you know,
Such as the city would
lot of
operate a
people
lot smoother.
we're rich on
You know,
paper,
to your point. you just-
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right.
but you need
HR.
yeah.
somewhere. That was pretty good.
Yep.
Hey, Christine, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
How's it going?
Well, that's right, right.
You doing
So
well?
really-
Hi.
How you doing?
Good.
Sorry.
You should bust through the wall like the Kool-Aid
Was
man.
that your last one?
Just 4 seconds.
Okay, we were so close.
Is you going south?
I know.
Bust through the wall like Kool-Aid man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Figure out what was wrong. They know what's wrong.
Mike is roaching on your session.
Fine.
So it's good. That's what. All good.
This is amazing.
I made a bunch of grammatical fixes today. So.
So did I.
Charlottesville.
And I
Got
like,
Driving.
Yeah, but
through,
my
I was
wife
like
doesn't
changing
drive.
it.
I refuse to drive West Virginia.
you're not gonna be able to read most
It's
of
terrible.
what
So we're gonna
I
stay
wrote
in
People are
Charleston.
because
Huh?
terrible
People are
handwriting.
nuts on.
When I
We're
was
just
done,
from
I didn't
Charleston
have
to
spots.
Tamarack.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then
You just call me over.
I
if
mean,
you need
those
to-
trucks
or
are
send me a
80
photo
just right by.
or
I'm
something.
like,
And you're like, what? But
So we're
it's
driving
like,
to Charleston,
it's so
early enough to
good.
take half
I'm
day
so
off, so
excited.
we'll leave
yeah. Good
3
job.
o'clock.
Where are you gonna stay, Charles?
Holiday. I get these things from Priceline. It's like $67.
But
Then we'll go into Charlottesville. He doesn't have the room. We're staying at the in Charlottesville, the Graduate. It's right on campus and stuff.
That sounds pretty
How
Oh,
are
it's
you?
really a nice hotel.
good.
They were off for all day when they had the shooter down there.
Oh, yeah. Summer, it looks like she took the GRE today.
She's out of the country, right?
She's in Rotterdam, Netherlands. She's GRE today. She scored 319, which is where she wanted to be.
Okay.
And that puts her 9th percentile for language and 80 percentile for math. She got a phenomenal recommendation for
Invited him to go on the
her
trip.
internship at a law firm. So she's hoping to get into NYU
I don't know.
this summer.
Something.
Good.
She asked me today, so
Sort of yellow flesh. Yeah. But I don't know what happened.
she didn't say home.
Oh my God.
No.
Not home,
Yeah.
back to the States.
Yeah.
That's gonna be some sort of movie. I mean, there's no.
Oh, they
doubt
are.
about it. That's,
You know, I'm like,
Attitude
that's
positive.
crazy.
That's a big,
Yeah.
it's fine until I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
and then just when you think like,
But
you know, when you
I
hear,
do.
you hear something.
Yeah,
for
it's gonna be
another
fun.
hour,
It's gonna be
something you
fun.
know all about
Like,
that.
it has to start getting better, right? Like, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I'm growing up in
So, yeah, I
ESPN
feel
just
good.
coming out.
Yeah.
MTV, ESPN.
Yeah.
Yep.
Movie, I think Turner came up with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking at lots of those. Is this like a, so we have one just
Charger.
here.
it's on the other
But
side.
it can happen.
Probably. Is it yours?
No, Ben bought,
Oh, because I
so
brought
we can keep
mine.
it charged, which is nice.
It's nice. What does that mean? I thought that was so early. And like, everyone's cars are here.
No, she's not coming tonight.
You're fluid.
Yeah.
Your position fluid.
Jamie and Stroya. Do you remember last year how I roped you into moving heavy tables and chairs the day of
Okay, how are you?
Fest?
Yeah.
Can we do that again?
What day, is that the
It's
third?
the third.
Third at 2 p.m.-ish.
Right.
Well, we would actually need them in place.
I
by-
can probably help
Should
getting
be.
there, but I feel like Katie, I wish I should remember this, but I feel like I've got something in the evening after Winterfest, so I can help you get them out, but I probably can't help you put them away.
Did you help them away last year too?
I don't know.
I only help put them on.
I think it was just put them up.
I
Okay.
can definitely help put them on.
Yeah, so like, they're
Yeah.
like 30-ish.
I can get Jessica to help too.
Yeah, remind me,
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
okay,
remember, yeah.
okay.
We can get a door of beer to help keep us warm.
Yes.
You can.
It's a good idea.
You can.
Smart.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Sorry to ask you in front of everyone.
No, that's all right.
Yeah, now we're on the
Yeah,
same.
no, I
I'm
have
not
to
gonna
say
do
yes.
it.
Were you making them dress up as elves for?
No.
Hey, did you hear that, Matt? We've got to dress up as
Elves.
elves.
Elves?
Yeah.
I have lights, I can wear lights, I don't know if I ever know that. Oh, you know what, Jessica's mom probably does.
I'll dress up.
I could probably pull that off.
Pardon?
You can do that too.
This Wednesday, the next Wednesday, that's the decorating the tree, right? So what time is it, 9?
Starts at 9
Okay,
till it's done.
cool.
Matt picked it.
What did I pick?
What if it's
Tree
raining?
decorating day.
Yes.
Are we still doing it if it's raining?
Yes.
Well, I'm not, but, yeah, heck yeah.
There's a tree downtown. There's a tree.
I'm not driving, I'm just throwing that out
That's
there.
all right.
I'm not gonna be the guy. on the truck,
Right up Matthew and Blair.
knocking the tree down, because that's what I would end up doing.
I think Blair retired. Yeah, he's told me.
I'll wear my sailing foul weather gear.
If it's raining, the city employees can still be there, because that tree's gotta be done for Friday.
We can go sit at the Howard Bird.
Yeah, watch from the porch.
Get it, no, boy,
I have a radio.
a little to the left, yeah.
I don't like this idea.
A little more. Why does Steve quit?
Although I forget what Mark told us, do the big ornaments go towards the top or do they go towards the bottom?
I think the bunches go in the middle. Remember that, if you can get the bunches in the middle. And the big ones on the bottom, because they'll break if they fall down.
I was told to lobby the mayor before I posted it.
Although I learned something, speaking of larger type, smaller bodies, we went to Stan Hewitt a month or two ago. And I never noticed this, and now I can't stop looking at like houses of that age when I'm driving through Akron. You know that they actually have different size shingles on those houses. They'll have the bigger ones down at the bottom and the smaller ones at the top. So maybe that's why, because it's not inclusion, it makes the top of the roof line go
Oh,
further
for the slate.
Yeah, so they actually have different sizes. So next time you see, like, now it's not all houses,
To look at,
but I've noticed that the houses are actually
to check out my
different sizes.
grandma's slate roof.
Hi, Mayor, how are you?
Hello, everybody.
I'll have to check that out.
Hi, John, welcome back.
Hey, thanks.
Feeling better?
Ah, we're getting better.
Yeah, it's a slow recovery.
How's your hip feeling?
Hey, the pain is gone.
Good.
Yeah,
That's good.
The surgery pain is gone?
surgery pain is gone. It's just a little sore, you know, where they spread the muscles, and that part hurts a little bit.
Absolutely.
A little tender. But thanks for asking.
Yeah.
Was that your house that's all decorated?
No, that would,
It might be.
It's late too, so.
It's a little excessive this year.
You know, Katie used you guys as an example, like, was it like a week or so you guys had a tree up or something? So like the streets of their tree up.
Last week we found out,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we were cleaning the third floor
Here we go.
and the Christmas trees there were like,
It's all lit up.
Is
let's
it?
just do it.
Did you get your Peloton bike up there?
No,
He's got purple
that's the source of it.
flowers.
You're supposed to not be here today.
Yeah.
Why?
No.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy.
What do you say
Well,
weighs?
with the
It's in the
weekend. Or
Do
no,
you say it weighs like
the weekend.
a couple hundred
Next
pounds?
to the tree.
Yeah.
Still 70 degrees.
I was super excited about that.
That's the
He
extent
said,
of
well,
my
he's here,
Christmas
but I'll do
decoration.
this.
Oh,
That's because you work in the
I mean, it looks like it was part of the gift.
It's about that tall.
Yeah.
It's my Charlie Brown tree, that's all I put up.
I was,
You're okay with it?
I was at Arhabeen. Mary and I went up to Maine for a little
You're
bit.
coming around lunchtime.
This is, we went to the tree lighting at Discovery Park.
Great. But I was able to get some first.
This is, there's a Freeport,
Yeah,
Maine.
priorities.
Oh, God. So we have 15 windows in the patio. We have 2 estimates of that.
See, I got the perfect setup. I don't have
I
200 or
was there
300
at tree
pound
lighting
Peloton
at
bike.
6:30.
A
Or something on
trainer
Friday.
and,
That's their tree.
So that's the.
that's what
They
just
lit all this stuff first.
And so
then
I've got this trainer that I take the rear wheel off my bike and I hook it
Can you
into it.
imagine that?
And I've got this thing that lifts up the front, it goes up and down, so the front lifts and the front wheel comes on. And then I've got my 15-pound carbon fiber road bike that I put on there, so.
I can't stand stuff that's
That's
not.
from the.
These are just,
It's portable, yeah. It's 3 ounces.
then they had Santa, and then they had a makeshift,
Yep.
that's before the crowd. That's what it looked like, so the people.
Yeah, I came up with the idea that I'm gonna take the window off the
Their home.
third floor and put it through there. Have a
We
crate.
need to get like a forklift or something.
Can you get it?
Seriously, do it.
Maybe.
Tumble lights.
Take them apart piece by piece.
The spoiler alert is, it's not gonna be in the living room.
Well, Matt, you know, very seriously, how do those things, how do they ship? I mean, like, they would have to ship
How did it get into your house? That's what we're getting.
Okay, well, I'm not 100% sure, but it was bought by a friend of ours who wrote it like 3 times, decided he didn't want it. Then posted it online, and Jessica literally was online when the person posted it and said, I'll take it.
That's what he's gonna need.
And showed up at my house because her dad had the name. And they delivered it. They did put it together. It comes in parts, but once it's together, it's hard to get it taken apart. Yeah.
You're right.
I can go down to Harbor Freight and get you a sledgehammer. You can take it apart.
Well,
Or, excuse me, a rubber
so
mallet.
here's the side kicker. We got this commercial treadmill. Yeah, so it was Nick and my cousin or nephew that's as big as I am and as strong as me. We got it upstairs, and it took us an hour, and it worked for about a month and a half, and it died.
Yeah.
And it is so thick, stainless steel. We tried to like saw through it with one of those diamond saws. So we're gonna have to take a torch to it.
You know, what it is.
Ah, not good, but we're here.
Okay.
We're good.
Could get ugly.
Every day's a
Did you just
gift.
feel,
Could be bad.
I
oh,
call him at 4:15.
yeah. And it's still like,
Permit required.
Yeah, it's bad.
Aggressively dismantling.
gosh, it's
I
a,
can't
Should
get
be.
the doctor.
always, right? Yeah.
There's, I researched
Too bad.
the covering to put down so I don't catch the house.
We had dinner together. Okay.
Another board. It's only, but it's only
What do you need?
another,
Plasma. Charger?
yeah, but only the one was like, this one. That one.
For the keyword?
Yeah.
That red one.
No, that's yours. That's,
I
yeah.
got that.
This one
My
charges
keyboard.
better. This is
Oh, really?
higher, yeah.
Wait, and the red one's for the keyboard?
Well, it doesn't matter, but this one will charge this faster. The keyboard doesn't need as much juice. Use this one for that.
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
No, it's not a, it's a micro USB,
It's a
not a
little, it's
USB.
a little guy. So that's one of those?
Yeah, that red one, they're all or
Oh, nice. Good.
Here for,
Do you have
classified
other cases?
Okay, let me guess what high school.
Or do you, like, if we're going through that? Do you want that?
Do you need anything signed?
When you're
Document you were here? Yeah. Do you want to take care of
You
that?
in the box?
The box?
In case we get
Oh,
too
the
busy.
box
it's
with
good
all
to
the
get
iPad
it.
stuff?
Can we do that for you?
Not necessarily, as long
Okay.
as, you know, I get the iPad, a keyboard, a pencil, and a charger back.
I just saw the most hilarious meme on Facebook the other day, and it was Morgan Freeman, so of course you're reading this meme in his voice. It says, you can throw away the box to your cell phone, you will never need it again.
What's in the picture?
I'm like, I've always said, in fact, I've got boxes for phones that I don't have anymore. I'm like, I'm gonna need that someday.
Picture, okay, well, I was right the first time. Okay, all right, I thought I did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the middle, and
Very good.
I
And
found.
I need to go.
What else you got?
I had 2 or whatever it is. It's like so small.
Daryl, where's Thanksgiving?
Yeah, over here.
Where are you going?
Yeah, it's like that's,
Well, that's easier for you.
Yes. Yeah.
This is messy.
Well, we just found out the Nashville.
See, are you kind of the belief?
Oh, why weren't they coming?
They weren't, they were gonna actually go
I
to
just
Arkansas
got
to
Oh,
see
you just
his
After my
parents.
5-year-old phone.
Something has derailed this.
Yes,
Oh.
I committee room and on this phone.
Okay, so that's new as of today?
As of this afternoon, which is about 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Because we had no.
Literally, I'm on the phone.
We were gonna have.
Haven't even logged in.
Yeah, but you're one,
Because I'm
who's
lazy.
down there?
So the other
Nobody's-
phones, that one, the other phone,
Nashville and Atlanta.
Leave
Yeah.
Johnson.
And so Nashville's coming.
Yeah, I did too.
But they just told us.
You're Columbus.
You're welcome, thanks for your.
Oh,
So we were going to go down to Columbus and have dinner with my brother and sister-in-law
yeah, just
and my
easy.
dope dealing nephew.
That's nice.
Because it's legal marijuana.
More people smoke now than cigarettes.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
But then you just, you get used to it.
So now you can do dinner.
So,
Ben, you ready to start?
there's always, you know what I mean? They do well for the food bucks.
Ready when you are.
About 20 seconds. And I'll call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting for November 21st, 2022. The time is 7 p.m. Ben, would you please call the roll?
Member Warren?
Here.
Member Wyrick?
Here.
Member McLeeser?
Here.
Member Matheny?
Here.
Member Stroya?
Here.
Member Orr?
Here.
Member Revoldt?
Here.
7 present.
Okay, the first and only thing is the Parks and Recreation Committee. So, Christina.
Yeah, so this is something that would allow us, I guess it's kind of twofold. It would allow for fire inspections of food trucks that are operating within the city once annually. And then it would also allow food trucks to submit applications to operate in, or I guess to get a permit to operate in Price Park and Dogwood parks. They would pay a one-time annual fee, and it would be kind of a first come, first serve in the number of spaces allotted kind of thing. And so then, just would make us a little more friendly to food trucks, would be, I think, a draw to people. They would really enjoy it in the parks. And then the other really cool thing that Ben told me is that we're using the rental registration software, right, to do all of this. So that's like a second use that he's found for that software now that we have it in place. Patrick, are there other details that you want to add on this?
Well, I think we vetted this out through, like you say, through the fire department to try to automate some of that process for them by using the OpenGov software, so it's a plus for them. The fire department inspection fee is $25. And then as far as in the park goes, we're limiting it to Price and Dogwood. 3 parking spots in Price. Those would be at the western parking lot on Maple Street. There are some 4 parking spots there that run perpendicular and would be ideal for easy pull-in for a food truck. First come, first served, just up to 3 spots there, and then up at Dogwood, just 2 spots. Much smaller venue there, but we think it would add some attraction for those that are there, all day, something like this, particularly the summer. Obviously, it's going to be more seasonal than now, but they're going to be out in a food truck in January. But when the weather breaks, April, May, June, July, August, should see some action there. And there are a number of things that happen down there. This kind of started a few years ago, looking at some of the activities that occur in Price. And we do have a very large presence for Pokemon in the park at Price every second Saturday or something to that effect all year round. And it's a big thing. So we think that was kind of the catalyst to make it more of an event or the destination. There was something like that. And it's up to them. It's not, we're not going to go out and seek trucks to do it. It's just we'll put the word out and it'll be up to them. Thank you.
I was wondering, sorry, Daryl, go ahead. I was wondering if, for a food truck to invest the money in filling up its supply, if they're going to be concerned that it's first come, first serve, and they might not be able to get a spot, especially on those big event days or the youth fishing tournament, and that there might be a possibility in the future of going down the path of reserving a spot, maybe 1 or 2 spots being reserved, or half the spots being reserved.
Yeah, it's a great point, David. I think that's how we would approach it. I mean, when we first did the pavilions, the picnic shelters and whatnot, we just kind of did it you didn't, first come, first served, but then they proved to be very popular, and it was a thing. So then we changed it over to a reservation system, and we can do that as well here. I'm just not quite sure, how extensive the interest will be, so.
Right, I'm thinking on those special events, it's gonna be,
Could be.
could be tough, and then you're gonna have maybe trucks parking in other areas or across the street or being an issue. So just something I'd like for you to think about, putting up the reservation like you did the pavilion, or if somebody's in the pavilion and they wanna bring a food truck for, and give them tickets, okay, so your food's on, part of the pavilion and part of the event that we're having in there.
And there's, I can see that. We certainly have the software already in place through our rec rental program that we can just add that as a location that can be reserved, so we could do that all online. I guess one of the things that we would have to work out though is, somebody that would just get in there and reserve it all the time and always be the only one there and no one else ever gets a chance to do this. We might have to work out some of those bugs, but I certainly will make a note of it and try to
Yeah, solicit feedback from the food truck owners themselves on what they would like to see there. Let them police themselves.
And I think I like what you said, maybe half the spots would be reserved, half the spots wouldn't, because then you might also run into the situation where somebody reserves it and they say, you know what, I'm gonna go to this other event because it might be a little more lucrative. They don't show up and then you have an empty spot, so that might be something you'd run into as well.
Yeah, Daryl?
Patrick? What are your thoughts about the legislation giving the administration the authority to waive the cap? Set the cap, but if you suddenly discover that you've got an event or you've got large demand, we place in your hands the authority to waive that cap if the vendor has met all the other requirements.
I guess, I appreciate the confidence that you have in the administration, but I would say that I would prefer to come back to city council on something like that because it's starting to change, really the nature of the park.
Okay, fair enough.
I might not be here someday, God forbid, and what if they put a 10 in there? Kind of starts to change the whole feel of the park, so I think I would defer to council on that.
Fair enough. This second question I had, I think we touched on this earlier. Do we feel that we need proof of liability?
Yeah, we do. That was something that you had mentioned to me last week, and we'll incorporate that into here. Certificate of general liability insurance.
What are your thoughts? Because I've seen the ice cream guy down there during the summer and stuff of that nature at night, And when the Pokemon or whatever the kids are doing, there are hundreds and hundreds of kids are parking all along there. Could we maybe reserve a spot on the Lindy, or not Lindy Lane, but on the Glenwood entrance?
In addition to?
Yes, because there's some space up there, and we probably could have 1 or 2 spaces up there as well.
It's actually a good idea. What if there were
Food
1 or
trucks,
2 in each entrance?
Yeah.
I get that, but food trucks, I don't know, when I've worked with them, they don't want a lot of competition, right? Like,
Well, they want everything for nothing.
Well, sure, but if there are a couple of hundred people, that's not enough people for 4 food trucks.
No, but we're charging such a little amount.
Yeah.
All right, and then with this registration, with the events that we have downtown, which several food trucks come to, they could register with that registration in January, also cover our Oktoberfest or our Main Street Festival, stuff of that nature.
Not at all.
So the part that relates to the fire department would apply to them all year round, no matter where they are.
Okay.
Part, as it relates to Price Park and Dogwood Park, are specific just to that. They're not required to do anything else at any other location in the city as far as registering.
Because the chamber charges X amount or
Yeah.
St. Paul, whatever, okay.
I do like that the fee for the parks goes back into the parks.
I like changes.
So Cookie Monday.
Bogeyman? What, they pronounce it wrong? It's Poppy Man,
So
Pokemon?
we will look
What was
at
it?
the,
When they were searching for those things. Remember all those kids were searching?
It's Pokemon
Oh,
Go.
that's what it is.
Oh, that, yeah, right?
They're all looking at their phone and wandering
Yeah.
around. and-
So we're gonna see John and Stephanie on Saturday morning playing Pokemon Go, I think. So, Pokemon.
Waiting for the food trucks.
Yeah.
all right, so we'll look at the certificate of general liability insurance requiring something like that and whether or not to allow the spaces to be reserved.
Yeah.
With that in mind, I move that we move this to the agenda.
So Revoldt will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I will take a motion to adjourn. I
Revoldt
will make
moves.
a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned. Okay, we will start the next meeting shortly.
You all from Captain High School? With our spectators. You came in just a couple minutes late, but the first part of this meeting was a committee of the whole meeting. And this is where the council of the committee can discuss items or an item. And today they were talking about food trucks and how that could be, how they can be controlled or supervised or for a couple of our parks, okay? The second part of this meeting now would be the general city council meeting. And as you can see, you have an agenda, that's what's gonna happen. And Matt Stroy is the president of council, so he'll call that meeting to order. However, my experience with you all is you need something signed.
I was
You
just
were
gonna
here.
say that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you have an entire city council here that, to sign your form that you attended and do that now, or you can wait till the end of the meeting.
Which could be 4 or 5 days from now.
So, do we have time to
Yeah, we
accommodate
do.
them?
Yep, absolutely.
So you're free to introduce yourself to any of the council members here to sign your form that you were here. So, you're
But
welcome.
if we see anybody leave early, we're gonna have the police chief following up.
Yeah, that's-
So, go right ahead, okay? Is it Mr. Knoll?
Yes.
He was here early on time, by the way, gentlemen, okay?
Charlie, you go to the mayor and
Doing good. Very good.
Nice to meet you. All right.
Hi.
No, enjoy the meeting. Everyone welcome.
Okay, academics and everything?
Are you, your uncle? Okay, did people always ask you that? Okay. Where do you need to go?
That's good.
Who's your teacher?
Did you play in sports?
We went there.
So then I didn't know that you were there.
Are you going to Ohio State?
Okay, nice to meet you. Take care, have a good rest of school.
Have they started letting people know?
Yeah.
Has it been just kind of a crapshoot?
Yeah, a lot of these
Do you
guys.
need your form signed tonight?
Nope. Like they said, that's kind of been the
All right.
because they, you can protect Ohio State. It's like they threw up.
Well, your presence is.
Yeah, they wanna go there for business.
Oh, nice.
Thank you. Okay,
All right,
thanks.
thanks.
Stole your pencil.
Let's go.
I'll now call to order the city council meeting of Monday, November 21st, 2022. The time is 7:13 p.m. Opening prayer, Jamie.
All right, we all stand? Let us pray. Dear Lord, we're here tonight to discuss topics that will benefit our constituents in the North Canton community as a whole. Come, give us wisdom to make the right decisions. Let us not make biased decisions, but decisions based upon solving the problems of your children. Be our leader during this meeting. Give us direction to make the right decision for North Canton. Open our eyes to solutions and help us make our community great for all who call it home. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Ben, would you please call the roll?
Member Matheny?
Here.
Member Wyrick?
Here.
Member McLeeser?
Here.
Member Warren?
Here.
Member Stroya?
Here.
Member Revoldt?
Here.
Member Orr?
Here.
7 present.
All right. Can I have a motion and a second to approve as presented the minutes from November 7th, 2022?
Revolt moves.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And can I have a motion and a second to approve the legislative year annual report, subject to corrections necessitated, nice word there, Ben, by actions of council at this meeting?
Revolt will move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, at this time, members of the public wishing to address city council may do so. Each speaker will be granted 5 minutes. Comments shall be limited to legislative items appearing on tonight's agenda only. The rules for speaking will appear on both screens. This will serve as the only warning for everyone in attendance. Any violation of the rules will result in ejection from the premises. Anyone wanting to address council?
Chuck Osborne, 307 Fairview Street, Southeast, North Canton, Ohio. I speak once again against a portion of the Ordinance Number 80/2022, wherein the salaries of North Canton elected officials shall be paid at a monthly rate equal to the minimum earnable salary designated by the Ohio Public Employees Retirement System to qualify for full-time service credit. The 11-member OPERS Board of Trustees is responsible for the administration and management of OPERS. Delegating the salaries for North Canton's elected officials to an 11-member OPERS Board of Trustees directly violates the city charter. Section 4.04 of the charter, titled Salaries and Bonds, states in part, the council shall have the power to fix the compensations of its members and the mayor, and I won't read the rest of it because I read it to you last week. Why is it that council chooses to abdicate its charter-mandated authority to set the compensation of its members to the OPERS Board? In this ordinance, council fixes the salaries for all in the city as required by the charter, but oddly, not for elected officials. The charter does not allow council to delegate away its duties. That fact was reaffirmed just recently in a Stark County Common Pleas Court case number 2014 CV 00757. To refresh everyone's mind, the city took exception through court action when a citizen initiative passed 3-1 by the voters seeking to restrict health care benefits for elected officials. When the law became effective at the start of 2013-2015 term of council, 4 members of council chose to ignore it. Marcia Kiesling, Jeff Peters, John Snyder, and Stephanie Warren. The court affirmed in their ruling that it is council who has the power to set the compensation of its elected officials and no others. This council can now ignore its charter as well as the 2014 ruling. Cannot now ignore its charter as well as the 2014 court ruling. Further, the manner in which you are now attempting to proceed does not give citizens an opportunity to address proposed raises for its elected officials in an open meeting. For decades, raises for elected officials were discussed in an open meeting of council as a single ordinance. Now you are burying raises for elected officials among raises for over 100 other city employees. A referendum of this ordinance, drafted as it is, would delay raises for all employees of the city until decided by voters in next November's general election. Why would City Council open the door to this kind of chaos for all the employees of the city? Actions of North Canton City Council must comply with the city's charter and the law. And in regard to statements made by Councilmember Daryl Revoldt following my November 14th, 2022 remarks on this same ordinance, there is no ambiguity in the definition of the verb fix. Mr. Revoldt, throughout your on-again, off-again membership on this council over the last 40 years, there was never any misunderstanding of the charter. Why, after All these decades, are you now confused? North Canton City Councils, since the North Canton City Councils, since the North Canton City Charter was adopted in 1961, have acted openly with the adoption of standalone ordinance to set the compensation of its members. Please continue in that manner. Citizens deserve transparency. That ordinance that was passed by the voters 3-1 in 2012 was on the books for almost a year and a half. And as I said, you had 4 members who went ahead and just thought, with the guidance of your former fire law director, who you fired ultimately, advised them that, hey, he would defend you if you decide to go ahead and take it. So I had no choice but to defend that, and I lost the court action. But you can't have it both ways. You can't say in one situation,
Point of order, is this an item on the agenda, President?
It's not.
thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Anyone else wishing to address council? Moving on to old business. Ben, could you read ordinance 76-2020?
An ordinance authorizing the vacation of 1, all of a 10-foot wide alley between 415 Portage Street Northwest and the associated garage to the south. 2, all of an 11-foot wide alley between 401 Portage Street Northwest and 341 Portage Street Northwest. And 3, all of an 11-foot wide alley between 337 Portage Street Northwest and 329 Portage Street Northwest, located within the corporate limits of the city of North Canton.
Okay, this is the third reading of this. There's no new information since the first reading we had. Any questions, comments from anybody? I move that we adopt this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then would you read resolution 79-2022?
A resolution adopting the solid waste management plan for the Stark, Tuscarawas, Wayne Joint Solid Waste Management District.
Jamie.
All right, well, this is the third reading for this item. We've discussed it at length previously, so every year, every solid waste district in Ohio must periodically revise and update their solid waste management plan, and this is what this is. So unless there's any questions, I move that we adopt.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Ben, would you please read ordinance 80-2022?
An ordinance amending various provisions of Chapter 155 Personnel Regulations of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton to modify various personnel rules and regulations and the titles and compensation levels of certain personnel.
Okay, so this is our third reading. This sets the salary caps for each position, that exempt positions only, none of the union ones. The increase is automatically set by Social Security's cost of living, which was released on October 13th at 8.7%. There is also in this increasing for uniform allowance and adding some different position titles, code enforcement coordinator, community outreach manager, and IT systems public policy analyst. Any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts?
With the, just a question, so it's an 8% increase, all right? Patrick was able to negotiate with the unions, what, 3.5%? Plus that 8 or no?
This is for,
This is for non-union,
Yeah.
right?
right, this is only
So-
non-union, it's matching the social security cost of living increase that took place and set in October.
Okay, all right, thanks.
We'll make a motion that we pass the third reading of ordinance 80-2022.
Revoldt will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben, would you please read ordinance 81-2022?
An ordinance amending Chapter 137, Department of Police of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton, specifically Section 137.04, Personnel, in order to increase the authorized number of police patrolmen and full-time dispatchers.
David?
So, police and fire civil service, they have personnel caps that this council and future councils will set, and we're raising that cap to 25, and we're adjusting it so that Chief Kemp can assign SRO officers and not have them as part of the assigned number of officers. Questions? I'll make a motion that we pass ordinance 81-2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben, would you read resolution 82-2022?
A resolution to acknowledge the rates and fees utilized to establish the budget for the 2023 fiscal year.
Stephanie?
Okay, just, it's exactly as it said, and it talks about the water rates, recreation rates, fire prevention services, emergency medical. But you have to say and figure all those out before you actually do the budget, so this is that resolution to do that. Any questions? All right, I move to adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben, would you read ordinance 83-2022?
An ordinance authorizing appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures and related one-time permanent transfers of monies made to various funds for the period beginning January 1, 2023 and ending December 31, 2023.
All right, Stephanie?
Okay, this is our budget, and we have talked about this on a really high level, but you have all the information that you need from OpenGov into the different stories, and both our finance director and assistant finance director did a great job in this. Our director of administration talking to everybody. Are there any other questions? Director of Finance, have you received any other questions, concerns, emails from any of the public members?
We have none.
Okay, if nothing else, I move to adopt.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank
Motion
you.
carries. Ben, would you please read ordinance 84-2022?
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Administration to advertise and receive bids and authorizing the mayor, upon Board of Control approval, to enter into a contract for the 2023 street resurfacing program at a cost not to exceed $350,000 and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Okay, this is the 2023 street resurfacing program, and this has an emergency clause attached to it. Any questions, comments? I move that we adopt.
Revoldt seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And can I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, can I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 84-2022 under the suspension of the rules?
Revoldt seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben, would you please read ordinance 85-2022?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of Administration of the City of North Canton to file a petition for annexation of territory owned wholly by the Commissioners of Stark County, Ohio, and adjacent to the City of North Canton as permitted under Ohio Revised Code, Section 709.16, and declaring the same to be an emergency.
Just for those who are new, this is 2.5 acres of property located at the intersection of Pittsburgh Road and Apple Grove. It's essentially southwest of that intersection. 80% of the proposed annexation is roadway. The property is owned by the county. Any questions? Seeing none, then I'll make a motion to adopt read of ordinance 85-22.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings?
So moved.
Revolt motion moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And can I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 85-2022 under the suspension of the rules?
Revolt moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Ben, would you please read ordinance 86-2022?
An ordinance amending chapter 1310 contractor registration, specifically section 1310.08, work without permits / registration of the codified ordinances of the city of North Canton to correct references to other code sections and declaring the same to be an emergency.
As we've discussed, this is a technical correction. The correction is contained in the ordinance itself. It's not particularly complicated. I think we had an off number, did we not, Ben?
Yes,
Which
it
is incorrect.
currently says 1309, should say 1302.
Yep. Any questions? Motion to adopt?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion and a second to suspend the rules of council requiring 3 readings?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And can I have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 86-2022 under the suspension of the rules?
Revolt moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben, would you please read ordinance 87-2022?
An ordinance authorizing the Director of Finance of the City of North Canton to make final appropriation amendments for current expenses and related one-time advances and/or permanent transfers of monies made to various funds needed during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022, and within the available resources in order to balance and close the fiscal year.
Stephanie.
This just allows us to balance and close, as the last sentence says. Gina, anything else? Okay, I move to adopt.
Revolt seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to new business. Ben, would you please, let's see here. Okay. Ben, would you please read ordinance?
Yep, so suspend Rule 23 first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I have a motion and a second to suspend Council Rule 23 to allow for consideration of ordinance 88-2022?
Revolt moves.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben, would you please read ordinance 88-2022?
An ordinance establishing Chapter 707 mobile food units of the codified ordinances of the City of North Canton, thereby establishing regulations for the operation of mobile food units in the City of North Canton.
Okay, Christina.
So this is what we just talked about in the committee meeting, the fire inspections once a year, and the annual permit to operate in 2 of our parks. If there are no other questions, I move that we adopt the first reading.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on, any final calls for new business? Okay, moving on to department reports. Patrick, Director of Administration.
Yes, so I know that we'll be looking at December for, a couple meetings, and then we have a short hiatus over the holiday, and we come back in January. And so what I would like us to do is allow Gina and I to work on this in the next 2 weeks, and we come back to the first meeting in December to start a dialogue on the levies for next year. So we know that we have a storm water levy and a street maintenance levy that renew next year. And we know that the revenues that each of those bring in is approximately $375,000 apiece. And that ordinance that you approved tonight for the street repaving of 350, pretty much, that's, uses it all up, obviously, you can see. And, if we were to have a conversation with our engineer, which I've done over the last couple of years, is that, we don't feel that the 350 is adequately addressing the street repair. Our streets have been in pretty good shape for a long time, but if you start to lose it, you're going to start losing it on a grand scale. Lots of streets, so I think that we need to do a little dialoguing with the county on, what a different levy amount, how many mills, what would it bring, and then have a conversation about that with council as to what it is your intent is. So we think that our intent is that we're going to ask for an increase. It's a question for council and the mayor to decide how much of an increase that is. It's never pleasant, but I know from working with all of you that among the 8 elected officials, you've all made a commitment to be transparent with the voters on what it costs to run this city, and that hasn't been the case in the past. So we're going to put it out there, and ultimately the voters will decide, and we'll have to work and live within those means should they make that. In the last election, though, there were a number of issues that were tax related that were passed throughout the county. So I don't think that voters are turning their head away from these issues. So that certainly for the storm and certainly for street, we need to take a look at that. And our intent would be to get those on the ballot for a May election. So we would need to get council to finalize and adopt what they need and get it down to the Board of Elections by their requirement, which is generally 90 days before the election. We would prefer to do that, as there could potentially be some other millage levies on the ballot for November, and we would want to kind of be separate from that. So that's the strategy. We also, I think if we can get that going, then we can, after that is completed, come back and start talking about, our water rates and where we are and what we know different from when council last looked at it, new regulations. So, and somewhat segueing on that is that, we know that we have a desire to put in a new well field. We've had a preliminary one done at Arrowhead. That's why we bought the place, I'm told, all those years ago. So the preliminary results look very promising. I should have, by the end of this week, the final results on all the particular readings, and they all look really good. And if that's the case, then we would look to, we'd want to build that well, and we'd want to get that water into our system and blend it with all the rest of our water. And to do so, we would need to, obviously pipe it to the water treatment plant. And we had a preliminary cost done on what all that might entail, and it's a sizable number, but it's around $1 million to do all of that. The well, I think, is like 300, and the piping is about 700. I have a plan on how to pay for that, and if this is something that when we get together the next time all the numbers look good, then we would want to talk about transferring some non-performing assets, land that we have that we could sell, and I think generate sufficient revenues to more than pay for the well. Otherwise, it would be $1 million price tag, part of the asset management plan. That was when the asset management plan was adopted. This didn't figure into that because we didn't know, because of some of the guidelines and regulations that were being published by Ohio EPA that were affecting how we were running the water operation. So it's something that we have to adapt to as time goes on. We just can't, it's not a static model that you can just set it and forget it, the old Ron Popeil method, and come back in 5 years and look at it. So that is on that. And then the rental registration has been up and running. We talked with someone earlier today who had been critical of it and reported a very positive experience with the whole online process, loves the software, how easy it is to do. And while they were doing that, they went ahead and saw that you could do a burn permit too online. So they went ahead and did that, got that done. And so the inspections are being scheduled. This particular individuals will be a week from Wednesday, so pretty quick. And the rest is history. That is my report.
All right, thank you.
Back to the streets, okay, 375,000. Do you have any guesses, or did this, you know, any of the engineers, what we really do need? And is our snow removal in that?
No,
That's
snow is
separate, okay.
Do we have a number? We'll be in a position to come back with a number
Okay.
when you guys next meet. But, you know, I would just caution you that, you know, there was a time, let me rephrase it, having sat where you sit, there's always going to be some road somewhere that some person will always say isn't good, and they want it fixed. And councils from some period past that had a lot of funds available because the Hoover Company was still here and was throwing off, you know, tremendous amounts of revenue to the city, that was spent doing various things like that. And you know, perhaps that's something that people got accustomed to, that we would always be able to do that. But once that money ran dry, we didn't really keep up with it.
And that's been, Hoover's been gone for quite some time now.
15 years.
And shame on us, council and previous councils, for sitting back. We have to have that transparency with the voters and the community, because they might not like it, but I think they just need educated. We're not doing business like we did 20, 25 years ago. It's a completely different ballgame.
And we have to keep in mind, that's a great point, John, we have to keep in mind too the inflationary aspects of what we're dealing with today, and supply chain issues and things that affect the pricing.
Price of cement is unbelievable.
Price of labor.
Asphalt, same thing, you know.
Petroleum.
Chemicals, it's everything's gone up. We haven't stayed up with the times.
Patrick, I think it would be helpful to remind everyone that Rob has done been particularly effective securing grant funds to cover the costs for our major arteries.
Mm-hmm.
We've used some of this 375 for our share, but grants will not cover residential streets. And that's where, in many instances, we see the need. To your earlier point about playing catch-up, it's on the residential side. It's not Main Street, it's not Everhard, it's not Maple, East or West. It's the residential street.
And for the most part, the asphalt that goes on any of those streets costs the same.
It does indeed.
I should announce as well that the engineer was in receipt of an official acknowledgement that the city was receiving a grant, for a federal grant for East Maple from Marquardt to Taft. Taft or Wise? Taft or Wise? I think it's Taft. Yeah. It was $1 million for the streetscaping, that next phase. However, that is with fiscal year 2027. So the monies wouldn't be available till July of 27. That gives us plenty of time to get our portion together for what we need to do and set aside. But That will be for some future council and administration to deal with.
Just for our students, if we go back, and I don't have the number, Gina, you might. We're talking about $350,000 appropriation for streets. Rob has dragged in annually how many millions of dollars for these other projects? 6, 5, 7?
I'd say 5.
5? So that gives you some sense of the scale in which we're operating. This is just a little tiny portion of our overall road budget. But it's one that's critical because it's on residential streets where we can't apply that $5 million.
Thanks. All right. Let's go to the Director of Finance, Gina.
Well, speaking of transparency, Mr. Orr said, we definitely want to appreciate and let you know that we appreciate your support, as well as your participation in building the budget and in explaining the budget, communicating the budget. They're all just very useful tools in communicating the budget to our constituents, obviously. And so Jim was actually able today to take OpenGov and create a PDF. So now you can click on the create a PDF, and obviously it's a static document. It's as good as until we have our first amendment next year. But it does help to explain quite a bit of things, and if you need to turn pages, then you can print 97 pages and turn them if you want. But you can't drill in and click into them. So we just wanted to let you know that that is available. It's on the website as well. We did Friday, we had our kickoff meeting for our new utility software implementation. The schedule looks like, the name of it is called MuniLink, and it will have a new online payment portal that goes along with that called Invoice Cloud. So we're going to be working with both of those systems. Our target date is April 18th, which is way ahead of our initial discussions of August of next year. So we're looking at right around tax season, which I believe is Jim's anniversary, or his 1-year anniversary, so that'd be a great way to kick that off too. So that's all my update. Did you have anything to add, Jim?
That would, the report that you get in the PDF version, it's linked. So if you just want to like click on the table of contents on the home page, you can takes you whichever department you're looking for. So.
All right, thank you. Mayor.
Well, thank you, President Story. I thought you were going to save me till the end, but anyways, just follow up on the on Rob Graham. You know, what helps us is he has ready-made projects, and oftentimes we're looking for grants or money that's becoming available. Other cities don't have projects that are ready to go, but Rob is that far ahead, and many times we are awarded grant money because he has projects ready, and no other jurisdiction or municipality has. But anyways, on Ordinance 83, 2022, thank you for passing our budget for 2023. I can't thank our administration and our finance department, council, and our 12 department heads, all getting involved over this process over the last several months. And this helped us go forward with one of the passages of our issues, was to be able to present a balanced budget by December 31st. And tonight we have that approved, so thank you very much. Water quality is a key element of our community. And by us looking at the well, possibly going forward with at Arrowhead, that's one of the main things that we've always looked at, and I was very concerned about that, maintaining water quality for our community, and also the amount of volume that we go through on a daily basis. So I'm very interested in going forward with that well. Just a couple safety things. First of all, before I forget, again, happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and I hope everybody has a safe and healthy Thanksgiving holiday coming up. But unfortunately, if you're following the news, a Cleveland firefighter, Johnny Tetrick, was killed by a hit and run while at a crash scene up on one of the interstates outside of Cleveland. When I was coming in to council tonight, we had our fire trucks, 2 police cars right there, and about the 100 or 200 block of Apple Grove Northeast with a 3-car crash there, 2 or 3 car crash. And there again, I just hope the public realizes when they see those lights and our safety personnel at a crash scene or an incident, that they do slow down and be patient and allow the necessary time that you may have to wait to allow our safety personnel to do what they're doing and taking care of victims or and watching out for their own safety. I can't tell you how I feel for the family and for all the firefighters and anyone in public service and our safety services. So just a word of caution for our own community. Be careful when our first responders are on the street. Slow down, okay? You'll get to your destination sooner or later. We don't need any of those injuries to happen here. And knock on wood, we've been very fortunate with for our safety personnel when they're out and about on the street. You've heard a couple other things tonight about the our interactive software. Yeah, folks, this is progress, okay? And progress is impossible without change. So we're changing things up a little bit here. But every day that we're in here, I think we're progressing to something better for our future. So again, just stay tuned. I know we have more things that will be coming forward in the coming year, but thank you again for what we've been able to accomplish so far this year. Thank you, President Story, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Council Clerk, Ben.
I would just like to do some quick housekeeping items, as this is the first change of session for 4 of you. So next week we will have our organizational meeting, where we do a number of housekeeping items, including re-electing president, vice president. You guys have a number of appointments to make, all of which either must be or have traditionally been members of council, so be thinking about if you want to serve in any of those roles. And then at the request of President Stroya, what we're going to start doing with this coming organizational meeting is adopting a full calendar for next year at the outset. So I guess jumping ahead a little to the meetings calendar, be aware that next week is organizational meeting, not a regular meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
That's at 5.
Where are you going to have that meeting, Ben?
Well, Mr. Mayor, it's your right to call it.
We're going to do it right here at our council chambers, okay? What time was that again?
Currently 5 o'clock, although Dave might like to petition you to change it.
A little later would be a little more helpful.
A little later would be more helpful?
Yes.
How much later, sir?
9 o'clock. Oh.
6 would be ultimate. I can squeeze out and get here by 5:30. That's necessary.
That, with the, I'm going to throw it out to council. I'm good with 6 o'clock if you all are. Can we do that?
Good.
At 6?
Thank you, Mayor.
Very fine. Shake on it.
Appreciate it.
Okay, it's a deal. 6 o'clock, organizational meeting. Thank you.
Thursday.
Is it Thursday?
Thursday?
Thursday.
Yeah.
It must be the first 3 days of December. I figured you all didn't want Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, that's good.
Exactly.
Thursday.
All right, let's move on to council reports. Jamie.
All right, thank you. Actually, I thank the mayor for those great remarks and the reminder about watching out for our safety services. It's something that I thought about and weighed heavily on me as I read the news about that up in Cleveland. It's just absolutely awful. I'm going to be very, very brief tonight. I just wanted to wish everybody here in the room, listening online, and all our fellow North Cantonians a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. So that's the end of my report this evening.
All right, thanks, Jamie. David.
Ward 2 does not have a report this evening.
Okay. Stephanie.
I will be brief as well. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Christina, great to have you back again. Love hearing your voice and comments. And then thank you everybody for passing the budget and meeting with Director of Finance and Operations and the Mayor. And Jim, you've done a great job of making sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And thank you for all that. So we're moving forward. Thanks.
Thank you. John.
Well, I'm always short. So. This time of year,
That's a good dad joke.
we live in a great community. I'm thankful for it. Able to live in a great community like North Canton. Great schools. You know, we've just torn down the home side of the football stadium. by private donations. So our local citizens do care, and they will give back to this great city that we live in. We have great policemen, we have great firemen, we've got great city administrators. I'd just like to thank all of them for this. I've had a lot of calls, and I want to thank Pat for driving through the ward. I don't know if you've gotten any calls. The leaves in the pickup has been somewhat, a little bit of a disappointment, and they will get picked up. It's just when, we don't know. We like to hope. So call back those residents and tell them, there are staffing shortages and stuff of that nature Kimball's going through. I've got a lot of that. I think the baseball field, we either took it down or it got blown away with these heavy winds lately around the park over at Whitworth. But that field looks great. There's a little bit of water on the third base side, but I think that with all that wind, it might have just blown it across. But my constituents in the 4th Ward, they continue to reach out to me, and I reach back to them, and I'm getting a lot of great ideas. So they are happy with what we're doing here. And that's all I have to say, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there.
Thanks, Jeff. Daryl.
Well, as everyone has graciously surrendered their time to me, I'd like to, first of all, just revisit the budget process. This was arguably the best budget process that I've participated in. I think what made it particularly exceptional was the fact that it combined detailed briefing with a discussion of our strategic priorities as we look forward. What is it that we really want to accomplish as a city? And it took a huge amount of work to get us to that point, and I appreciate it. I can remember occasions when we argued over whether we ought to purchase a cell phone or not for some of the EMS. Frankly, we're well beyond that, and that's great. We, I think we also skipped over in the reports an acknowledgement that our clerk has done a terrific job on rolling out the software for the rental registration and the burn permits. Clearly, we have an individual who is comfortable with and can manage that software and is dragging us into the 21st century, and that's a great thing.
Thank you.
I'm old.
You're right.
And
Pause after you say that.
I'm confused. I'm confused. Terribly confused as I sit here. But I want to say to Mr. Osborne tonight that your assertion that the compensation approach violates the charter is without reasoned legal analysis. It's simply a statement. The fact of the matter is the charter does say, give the council the authority to fix compensation. And I would suggest to any of you, check the definition of fix. We have done that. We have established a method of compensation. Establish. Synonym for fix. But I'm confused. But I'm particularly struck by the plea or the statement that citizens deserve transparency. It's a good thing. Transparency. We just came through a ballot initiative in which one individual weighed in without disclosing his name. Spent $7,500. Didn't bother to tell any of the voters who was behind the mail. I think that is just the ripest form of hypocrisy from someone who pleads for transparency. thank you for your time. I'm
Do you
finished.
need more?
All right.
You want more?
No.
Christina?
I'm not gonna be short, because I haven't been here a lot. So, catching up on news from last week's meeting, I just want to congratulate administration and Catherine especially on the Ohio Parks and Recreation Association Award for Dogwood Park, highly deserved. I'm not surprised, we were there last year, and there were some really great projects, but that park's amazing, so just really proud of that. Winterfest will be Saturday, December 3rd, from 4 to 7:30 p.m. And I just have to say, like, gosh, I've worked with, for all of these events, I don't know, I'm always involved somehow, and I ended up meeting with a bunch of people from the city, Frank is there, and Todd Reed, who does the electric, and Kelly Hart, and, just all department head, or the heads of all of these areas that make these events go on, and they're so agreeable, and they're so happy to be there, and they're excited about it, and I feel that every time I'm really at City Hall, I'm meeting with Ben and meeting with Patrick and the mayor, and it's a great staff, and I'm just really grateful. But anyway, Winterfest, Saturday, December 3rd, 4 to 7:30 p.m., so make sure you all have that on your calendars, we'll be lighting the tree and eating from food trucks and drinking hot cocoa. And something else I'm really excited about is we've been hard at work on the master plan. You may all remember we had a presentation about that. We formed an ad hoc committee. That committee met quite a few times and developed a draft of a new plan, which you'll all have in your email, I think, before December 1st. So you can take a look at that. I'm really proud of what came together, and I think you guys will be excited about some of the outcomes as well. So I'm really excited for you to see that. And then finally, it's Thanksgiving week. So I just want to say I'm incredibly grateful for the grace and patience of the community, of all of you around this table, as I have dealt with health issues since mid-June, and I'm easing back in as quickly as I can, and I'll still be in and out, but I'm just incredibly grateful for all of you. That's all.
Grateful to have you back.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, well, you guys covered most of what I was going to say. October 30th, we're going to do the tree decorating.
November.
November, oh my gosh, I even wrote that, my bad. Okay, yeah, November 30th, starting at 10 a.m. If you guys can make it, if anyone can make it, that would be great. If not, Jamie is committed to do most of the work, so that's great. I just want to say have a happy Thanksgiving, be safe. Let's go over final call for new business.
No, I have one quick thing I forgot to mention. I apologize for missing last Monday. It was just one of those days, they're getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and I didn't want to pass anything along. But I followed on our website, it was great, so I was there with you guys.
Good.
Glad you're feeling better. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, let's go over the meetings calendar. On the 28th, well, there will be no meeting. On the 22nd, or the 1st, December 1st, 6 p.m. we decided on is the organizational meeting. That will be here. December 5th is a public hearing. We'll probably have committee, and but we can't set that till we elect the new council. Then December 12th will be another public hearing and probably a regular council meeting, and that will be the last of the year, correct? Okay. That being said, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourn.
Yay. That was funny. Well, I was gonna say something. We just.